John 8. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Early in the morning, he came to the temple courts again. All the people came to him, and he sat down and began to teach them. The experts in the law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught committing adultery. They made her stand in front of them and said to Jesus, "Teacher, this woman was caught in the very act of adultery. In the law, Moses commanded us to stone to death such women. What then do you say?" Now they were asking this in an attempt to trap him so that they could bring charges against him. Jesus bent down and wrote on the ground with his finger. When they persisted in asking him, he stood up straight and replied, "Whoever among you is guiltless, may he be the first to throw a stone at her." Then he bent over and wrote on the ground. Now, one of the things that's interesting is the phrase here, he wrote on the ground with his finger, okay? Or possibly Jesus bent down and wrote an accusation on the ground with his finger. The Greek verb, cartograph, may indicate only the action of writing on the ground by Jesus, but in overall context, it can also be interpreted as implying that what Jesus wrote was a counter-accusation against the accuser. Although there is no clue to the actual content of what was wrote, some scribes added the sins of each of them, either here or at the end of verse 8. So we have a couple of copies, but not the majority, that add the words, and he wrote the sins of each of them. But I wanted to point out it's with his finger. So we had, when we're reading through the writing of the Torah, it is written by, or I should say the Ten Commandments, the stone tablets is written by the finger of God. Here we have Jesus writing in the ground. So those were stone tablets. Here, the ground, he is writing the something with the finger of God, with Jesus' finger. So we have a parallel there. I think that's what we should be thinking of, the parallel between the commands written by the finger of God and the writing of Jesus by the finger of God here in this passage. So the Pharisees bring a woman caught in the act of committing adultery. So here's a part that maybe you haven't heard really expressed here. Yes, there's the fact that where is the man who is committing the act? Now, the man may not be married, the woman may be married, and therefore the woman is violating and is adultery. The man isn't necessarily, depending on how you technically parse adultery, because he may not be married. We could have something like that. But it doesn't matter. The commands are against the woman that they are emphasizing, and they are trying to, like, if they brought the man, it would be a different accusation and maybe a different response. So are you actually going to have her stoned? That's what they are trying to confront Jesus in a way. So that's part of why I think they're only bringing the woman. But two, the man might have been the one who gave them the information about it. Maybe they knew the man and knew that this was an affair that was ongoing. And thus, they previously knew about it and yet did nothing about it. It's only now, when it's convenient for them, that they are going to enforce or attempt to enforce something that should not be happening. This is not like, oh, we caught her. This is the first time it happened. This is probably an ongoing affair of some kind. And so they are probably aware of this prior to this. They then wait in ambush, pretty shady of them, and then they catch her and bring her. So they are bringing, so they've set up a scenario. It's kind of like one of those things where if you already know somebody's doing something, you're waiting for an opportunity to be advantageous for you to rat them out. So, you know, your sibling might be doing something wrong and you catch them, but you don't say anything to mom and dad, or you hold on to it until they do something. And then you say, but yeah, I can rat you out on this other thing. So there's probably something more nefarious going on there besides the woman herself and the man, and they're waiting for the opportunity to do all of this. And I just want to point out that I think that is even more heinous on the level of knowing something is going on, but waiting for it to be advantageous for you to do anything about it. So they're bringing the woman and they're trying to test Jesus. What is the outcome? If Jesus says, yes, let's stone her, How are they trapping Jesus? This is the part I don't get. Now, they were asking this in an attempt to trap him so that they could bring charges against him. So I don't know what charges they're going to bring if Jesus says, yes, stone the woman. That's the part I don't get. I'm so familiar with the passage and what Jesus does, that Jesus writes on the ground. He does not say anything at this point. And he goes back to, then he goes and says, whoever among you is guiltless, let him throw the first stone. And he bends over and he continues to write on the ground. So I'm not sure what their trap was that Jesus would have said, let's stone her. The only thing perhaps would be is they didn't have the power to execute, although I thought that stonings did happen, but they were under Roman authority. They could not have, death sentence. So maybe that's what they're trying to get him caught with. I don't know. So Jesus has now bent over to write on the ground. There is great speculation, as he mentioned in the footnote, some early manuscripts, but not all of them, just a couple of them add he wrote the sins of everyone who was there, which is a common belief that people think of. Another thought is that he just wrote down and he wrote the 10 Commandments, that could be what he is writing there. Now, when they heard this, they began to drift away one at a time, starting with the older ones, until Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus stood up straight and said to her. So before we get into that, so starting with the older ones, beginning with the oldest. So why would the oldest leave first? They are more honest about the sins that they've committed, is part of the thought, if he is indeed writing those on the ground. And also, those who without sin cast the first stone, the older ones realizing their own sins. Now, there's another thought that I think I've heard, that maybe Jesus was writing their names next to the sins that they had. We do not know. And intentionally, John does not tell us what is written there, I think, because we are stuck with the what was he writing part, and they are leaving, and they were trying to trap Jesus, and he escapes the trap. Okay, so now he is left only with the woman. Jesus stood up straight and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Did no one condemn you?" She replied, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said, "I do not condemn you either. Go, and from now on, do not sin any more." So he asked the woman, is there anyone here who condemns you? No one. So then Jesus says, "Neither do I condemn you." She hasn't repented here. Here's one of the things people don't always, well, she's not repentant here. She hasn't said that she's repentant of this, but he tells her, "I won't condemn you either. Go and sin no more." We sometimes think that there has to be this perfect order of things, that you have to have confession and you have to have repentance before you can have forgiveness. Jesus shows forgiveness here before, and we don't even have that she says anything to repent. He says to her, "Woman, where are they? Did no one accuse you?" She replied, "No one. So go and sin no more." All right, so let's look at the footnote here, because there is an important thing. The earliest and best manuscripts do not contain verses 53 of verse 7, or chapter 7, through verse 11 of chapter 8. See note on 53:8. Oh, okay, I missed that, so let's go back to the note on 7:53. I was just thinking that was just telling us, wow, it does. See, it's not even there. This entire section, traditionally known as the pericope adulterous, is not contained in the earliest and best manuscripts. So our oldest copies do not have it, and was almost certainly not part of the original part of the Gospel of John. Among modern commentators and textual critics, it is a foregone conclusion that the section is not original, but represents a later addition to the text of the Gospel. The evidence for the non-Johannine origin of the pericope of the adulterous woman is overwhelming. External evidence: the omission of it from P66, 75, Aleph, B, like all of these, like these are like well-known early. The additional codices A and C are defective in this part of John, but it appears that neither contain the pericope, because careful measurement shows that it would not have fit in the space. So there's a mess up in the space of a couple of them, but it would not have fit in this space. Among the manuscripts that include D and M, of the Latin, the LAT, in addition to, okay, we're listing a blah, 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 blah. Okay, here's the one I wanted to get. F1 places it after John 21:25, 115, and a few others after John 18 or John 8:12, and F13 puts this in Luke 21, and a corrector in 13:33 includes it in Luke 24. Here's the best evidence that it is not original to John. It is in various places. Same with the thing with Mark's ending. We have various different things, and it's also added to Luke. So this story was somewhere in a collection, and it got added in Luke in some places. It was in different places in John. It eventually ends up in this place, and then it is carried on, and it consists and persists in the same place. So in some ways, when you have some of these things, it is an early story. It is one that is well attested to. It is, in some ways, I would say, usable and beneficial for the teaching and instruction of believers and should remain in here with a footnote there. However, I would not build an entire theology around this passage, but I don't think we are. We're talking about how does Jesus react to the woman. We're talking about how they are trying to trap her. It totally fits in line with the story, which is why it's placed here in some regards. So I hope that makes sense, but I wanted to I always want to make sure, and I bring these points up when there's discrepancy and all of those things, because when somebody who doesn't believe in the Bible comes to you and brings these up, I don't want you to be unaware, friends. I don't want you to be unaware that there are discrepancies. And there's not a problem with discrepancies, okay? It's only a modern thinking that's black and white that causes that to be a problem. Then Jesus spoke out again. I am the light of the world. The one who follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Here's another way where you can see that this makes sense of it being added, as if you were to just take and add this right after the last section that we had in the previous passage. It does make sense if we take out the whole section there of the woman caught in adultery. So then Jesus spoke out again, I am the light of the world. The one who follows me will never walk in darkness. So we have him talking about water that will well up in you. You'll never thirst. Now we have the light of the world. A reminder as well when we have the I am statements of Jesus. In some ways, John is taking and looking at both Old Testament references and also Greek God references, or Roman God. I can't remember if it's Greek or Roman. Anyway, there are claims of different gods and what they did and what they said, and thus him saying the I am, this is refuting and taking down the different gods of the Greeks and Romans. And the backdrop of 8:12 is the lighting of the candelabra in the court of women. May offer a plausible setting for the proclamation by Jesus that he is the light of the world. The last time Jesus spoke in the narrative is not part of the original text, as the textual evidence suggests. It is 738, where he was speaking to the crowd of pilgrimages to the temple area. This is where he found the present verse, and he may be addressing the crowd. Jesus remarked that they have seen in view both the prologue and the end of the discourse with Nicodemus. The coming of so we have coming of the light. So we have light as a reference all throughout John. You will not walk, or you will not be in darkness, but have the light of light. So we have Jesus talking about being the light of the world. So the Pharisees objected. You testify about yourself. Your testimony is not true. You can't give an I am statement, Jesus. I am statements aren't allowed. That makes them false. Jesus answered, even if, if I testify about myself, my testimony is true because I know where I came from and where I am going. We're back to the place of where I came from and where I'm going. We have not left it. This is you don't know where I'm from. You don't know where I'm going. You don't know where I'm from. You don't know where I'm going. My testimony is true. We've already had an argument previously about the Father testifies, the Spirit testifies, and the miraculous things he does testify. He has no need to testify about himself, and he's not testifying about himself. He is making a declaration here about what you can possess in relationship to him. not so much a testifying about himself, I would say, but they're seeing it as testifying about himself. So it can't be true. But you people, that would be the religious leaders, do not know where I come from or where I am going. You people judge by outward appearance. I do not judge anyone. If I judge, my evaluation is correct, because I am not alone in my judgment, but I and the Father who sent me do so together. It is written, your law, that the testimony of two men is true. I testify about myself, and the Father who sent me testifies about me. So Jesus is making the argument here that the Father testifies about him, and I testify about myself. And when two testimonies are needed for there to be truth, here they are. It is that is an agreement, that we are in agreement, and therefore it is true. Unlike before, where he said the Father testifies and the Spirit testifies, here he's going that my testimony is true, and I testify, and the Father testifies. So my testimony is true. You judge by the outward appearance. I don't judge anyone. If I judge, my evaluation is accurate, because I do not judge alone, but I and the Father who sent me do so together. So Jesus and the Father judge together. He doesn't do so alone. See what I have here on the footnote. The meaning of Jesus' statement, I do not judge anyone. It is clear that Jesus did judge, even in the next verse. The point is not that he didn't practice the same kind of judgment the Pharisees did. Their kind of judgment was condemnatory. They tried to condemn people. Jesus not come to judge the world, but to save it. Nonetheless, and not contradictory to this, the coming of Jesus to bring judgment, because it forced people to make a choice. Would they accept Jesus or reject him? Would they come to the light or shrink back to the darkness? They responded, so they were judged. Okay, here's the problem with the word judging. Okay, if I judge, my evaluation is accurate. So we are using the judge in the judicial term of right and wrong. But I think what Jesus is talking about is he has come to restore what a judge in the book of Judges and the time of Judges, and what should have continued, is judging was not to find guilt or innocence. Judging was to find restoration. And so the outcome of evaluating the circumstance was to restore relationship. So if you took something and you stole it, you return more than you stole to restore relationship. So Jesus is not coming in condemnation. He is coming in the original sense to restore relationship. We have a broken relationship with the Father. He is coming to restore that. There are broken relationship with people. He is coming to restore that. So we have such a judicial sense in the word judging and law and order. We even talk about the Torah as the law, rather than these are the instructions on how to live a life. So instructions on how to live a life sounds a little bit different than law. Anyway, we'll keep going. Then they began asking him, who is your father? Jesus answered, you do not know either me or my Father. If you knew me, you would know my Father too. Jesus spoke these words near the offering box, while he was teaching in the temple courts. No one seized him, because his time had not yet come. So we have a repeat of no one seized him, because his time had not yet come. So he's near the offering box. So knowing the Father, knowing me, standing near the offering box, that's kind of weird, don't you think? Why is he talking about the offering? Why talking about this by the offering box? The treasury room. It can be taken in a sense of at the treasury. So where are you storing up your treasures? Are you storing up treasures here? Looks like there's a few of them that go over there that you guys are storing up, or are you storing up treasures in heaven? We could be having a connotation in some regards there. Earthly versus heavenly, I think, is partially in mind there. Then Jesus said to them again, I am going away, and you will look for me, but you will die in your sin. Where I am going, you cannot come. Okay, so interesting. He adds this time, and you will die in your sin. You will not be able to come where I come. The expression is similar to the expression found in the LXX in Ezekiel and Proverbs. To die with one sin, unrepentant and unatoned, would be the ultimate disaster to befall a person. Jesus' warning is stern and to the point. So you are going to die in your sin. You are not going to have your sins forgiven. You're not going to have been here making offering, and you will still have that sin upon you. Perhaps he is going to kill himself because he says, where I'm going, you cannot come. So I did point out earlier that maybe death would be a thing that they could come to. Now they've come to that conclusion. Well, maybe he's going to kill himself because, he says where he's going, we can't come. Jesus replied, you people are from below. I am from above. You people are from the world. I am not from this world. Thus I told you that you will die in your sins. For unless you believe that I am he, you will die in your sins. So fleshing it out another way, he has said that he is from the Father. He will be returning to the Father. Where I am going, you cannot go. He finally, I am from above, you are from below. So you are from the world, or you are from below. In either way, you are from the corrupt, the evil, the place of sin. And so only way for you to be not dead in your sins is to believe in me. See the note in 120. I'm not going way back there. Unless you believe that I am, in context, there is an implied predicative noun, I am he, following the I am. So just as unless you believe that I am. The I am phrase, if you do not believe that I am he, what Jesus hearers had to acknowledge is that he was making the claim to be the Messiah. The view is reflected in the English translation. If you do not believe that I am the one I claim to be, unless you believe that I am who I say I am, and if you do not have faith in me for who I am. Okay, so they're trying to, in some ways, I think, soften this from the possibility that Jesus is saying I am, equating himself to be. Now, I don't know, because it is being here in Greek, what the Greek translation of I am is from the Old Testament. That would be what we'd need to see to definitely see that. But unless you believe I am, you will die in your sin. So the only way is to believe in me. Otherwise, you're dead in sin. One reason. Welcome in, friend. Hope you had a beautiful 4th of July. So they said to him, who are you? Jesus replied, what I have told you from the beginning. I have many things to say and to judge you about, but the Father who sent me is truthful, and the things I have heard from him I speak to the world. They did not understand that he was telling them about his Father. So he keeps saying, what I have told you from the beginning, I have many things to say and to judge you, but the Father who sent me is truthful. So why do they keep struggling over this? What do we have here? The one, the reference to the Father has been specified. Okay, so, but the one who sent me. So why did you, they're like, here's what you just made it more difficult. They were having problems understanding that he was saying the Father. Well, then why did you put Father in the text so that we wouldn't have the problem of understanding that? You could have just left it at the one, which is what more vague is, I'm sorry, better, not clarify. Let us struggle with it. Okay. So they're not understanding the Father, the one in heaven. They just can't grasp it. When they do, they don't like it. And so they're not inclined to go in that direction. Then Jesus said, when you lift up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he. So again, he says the I am again. That I am, and I do nothing of my own initiative, but I speak just what the Father taught me. This just sounds so repetitive at this point. I say what the Father taught me. I only say the words the Father gave me. It's just like on and on and on again. Like, I get it. Okay. You only say what the Father tells you. You do nothing of your own accord. Like, come on. How many times do we have to see this? Aha. Like, it's supposed to drive it home. They don't get it. So they have to keep hearing it again and again and again. The one who has sent me is with me. So I am he. I do nothing on my own initiative, but I speak what the Father has taught me. And the one who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone, but I always do the things that please him. So I'm not alone. He is with me. I do what pleases him. While he was saying these things, many people believed in him. So he is again. So we've had, I think, a third time now where people are believing in him, but many are not, and the religious leaders are not. And then we have people believing in him, and the religious leaders are not. And then we have people believing in him. So he keeps teaching, and people keep coming to him, coming to the knowledge of him by the different things that he is teaching. Then Jesus said to those Judeans who had believed in him, if you continue to follow my teachings, you are really my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So this, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. What a horrible place for that to be divided into a verse. We're in the middle of a thought that comes with an if. If you continue to follow my teachings, the thing has to happen first. You have to continue following Jesus' teachings. Then you are a disciple. You are really a disciple if you continue to follow the teachings. And if you really are a disciple, and if you continue to follow the teachings, then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. This isn't some cognitive thing that we just, I know the truth, therefore I am free. No. It's not an intellectual assent to no. If you follow the teaching, so in other words, putting into practice, you put into practice the things you have taught, you experience that, and you are a disciple. And by the experience that you have of following the teachings, putting into practice, and being an actual follower of Jesus, you then are able to discern the truth. You experience the truth, and that truth sets you free. This is not an intellect. You're sitting here, you're reading a book, you're just doing a study, and you're going, I can do this all in my head. No, it is practice lived out. They're going to argue, though, they missed the point. We are descendants of Abraham, they replied, and have been and have never been anyone's slave. How can you say you will become free? So their thought is, we're not slaves. Well, you're not free either. You're oppressed by Rome. But anyway, how can you say you will become free? We're descendants of Abraham. We're not slaves. So they're making a logical argument, missing the spiritual intent of what's going on. Welcome in. We're in John 8 right now. So we are descendants of Abraham, and we have never been anyone's slave. How can you call us free? So they're just totally missing the point. Jesus answered, I tell you the solemn truth, everyone who practices sin is a slave of sin. So why are you a slave? Because you practice sin. You are slaves to sin. The slave does not remain in the family forever, but the son remains forever. So if if the son sets you free, you are really free. So the son is going to set you free. You are slaves to sin. You are going to be a slave in the family forever. You cannot get out by yourself. The slave does not remain in the family, but the son remains. So you aren't in the family because you are a slave. So just because you say you're Abraham's, you are a slave to sin. You are not a descendant of Abraham from them. I know that you are Abraham's descendants, but you want to kill me because my teaching makes no progress among you. So, yeah, I know you're Abraham's descendants, but you're still slaves to sin, and you are not accepting my teaching among you. I am telling you these things I have seen while with the Father. As for you, practice the things you have heard from the Father. So I'm telling you the things I saw with the Father, and as for you, do the things that you have heard from the Father. That's what you are to do. You are not doing those things which you have heard. All right, so Jesus is talking about the Son setting him free from sin and slavery, truly being repentant, truly being cleansed. They're not grasping it very much, not all of them, but they want to kill him because it makes no progress among you. So those who are seeking to kill him, my teaching is not making progress among you. I'm telling you things I have seen while with the Father. As for you, practice the things you've heard from the Father. So, in other words, a call to, hey, I'm telling you what I've heard or what I've seen. Just practice what you've heard. You've already heard these things. They answered him, Abraham is our father. Jesus replied, if you are Abraham's children, you would be doing the deeds of Abraham. But now you are trying to kill me, a man who has told you the truth I heard from God. Abraham did not do this. You people are doing the deeds of your father. Okay, so the implication here is the one that you are following is your father. You do the deeds of the one that you are following. So, we have the father of modern medicine. So you do the deeds of modern medicine because you're following after the footsteps of the deeds of the person. So Abraham does not go around killing righteous people. Who does Abraham go around killing? Abraham doesn't go around killing people. Okay, you are not doing the deeds of your the deeds of your father Abraham, who blessed people. Okay, you're trying to kill me because I told you the truth. Abraham does not do this. So if you're not the one, so you heard the truth and you want to kill me, that's not what Abraham would do. So then you must be doing the deeds of your father. Then they said to Jesus, we were not born as a result of immorality. So they're again getting caught up in we weren't caught in adultery. We're not immorality. We weren't. How dare you say we're not of Abraham? We're not half-breeds. We have only one Father, God himself. So they're claiming that they are followers of God, that we are followers of God himself. Jesus replied, if God were your father, you would love me, for I have come from God and am now here. I have not come on my own initiative, but he sent me. Why didn't you understand what I'm saying? It is because you cannot accept my teaching. You people are from your father, the devil, and you want to do what your father desires. So they're doubling down and arguing with Jesus. No. Well, you want to say the only father is God? We agree. We only have God as our father. We are following him. And Jesus is going to point out, well, if God is your father, then you would love me because I'm from him and I've come not on my own initiative, but from him because he sent me. Why don't you understand what I'm saying? Because you cannot accept my teaching. Why can't you accept my teaching? Because you people are from your father, the devil. So you're claiming your father is God. You're wrong. You're doing the deeds of your father in heaven, or your father, the devil. You do what he desires. He was a murderer from the beginning. Wait, you want to kill me? He was a murderer from the beginning and does not uphold the truth because there is no truth in him. So I'm giving you truth. The truth will set you free. You don't want to be set free because you like just the ongoing back and forth here that just going over their heads. Whenever he lies, he speaks according to his own nature because he is a liar and the father of lies. But because I am telling you the truth, you do not believe me. So you believe him because he lies, and you don't believe me, which means you must believe the lie. Why does he lie? Because he's a lie face. And he lies because he's a liar. He's a lie face, that guy. The father of lies, no less. But I'm telling you the truth. You do not believe me. So I tell you the truth, you don't believe me. Why? Because you already believe the lie. So you can only believe one. And since you've already told me you don't believe what I've said, and what I've said is truth, then therefore what you believe must be a lie. And if you're believing lie, then you are doing the work of the one who is the king of the liars. And therefore your father, yes, he's a lying liar. Yes, liar, pants on fire. Who among you can prove me guilty of any sin? So there we go. Gauntlet challenge. Throw this down. Prove me wrong of any sin. If if I am telling the truth, why don't you believe me? You can't prove me to be sinning. So then what I must be saying is the truth. What sin am I guilty of? If I'm not guilty of a sin, I've got to be telling the truth. But you don't believe. The one who belongs to God listens and responds to God's words. So going back to God is our Father. Well, if you did belong to God and you did listen, you would respond to his words. You don't listen and respond because you don't belong to God. If you were of God, which you say you are, and you heard my words, you would reply and respond, and you don't, and therefore you're not, and so you're not, and that's not you. Ha ha ha. I don't know. It just feels like some taunting going on there, back and forth, but certainly a culmination going back and forth. The Judeans replied. So remember, it was the Judeans who believed that started to get into an argument with him. The Judeans replied, aren't we correct in saying that you are a Samaritan and are possessed by a demon? Whoa. Really? A Samaritan and possessed by a demon and have a demon? It is not clear what is meant by the charge of Samaritas with a demon. You are a heretic and possessed by a demon. The note of the dual charge gets one reply, perhaps the phrase interchanged. Simon Magus, in traditional Docetus, the two Samaritans who claimed to be sons of God were regarded as mad, that is, possessed by demons. Okay, so we have Docetus and Simon Magus, who are Samaritans who claim to be sons of God. So claiming that you're a son of God, you must be a Samaritan and possessed by a demon. So he's just called him the father of their father, the liar, and now they're pointing back, you're possessed by a demon. Jesus answered, I am not possessed by a demon, but I honor the Father, and yet you dishonor me. I am not trying to get praise for myself. There is one who demonstrates it, and he judges. I tell you the solemn truth. If anyone obeys my teaching, he will never see death. Okay, so he keeps upping the level of things. We have the never thirst. We have light and not walk in darkness. And now we have, you will never see death. Then the Judeans respond, now we know you're possessed by a demon. Oh, yeah. Like, you're saying that we're not going to die? Like, okay. Like, not going to happen. Both Abraham's and the prophets died, and yet you say, if anyone believes my teachings, he will never experience death. You aren't greater than our father Abraham, who died, are you? Yes. And the prophets died too. Who do you claim to be? Like, they're just not getting it. They think they know, and then they try to say, this is who you are, and he's like, no, you don't get it. And now, what do you mean we won't die? This makes no sense. The greatest among us are our ancestors. If Father Abraham died, how could you be better than him? Jesus replied, if if I glorify myself, my glory is worthless. The one who glorifies me is my Father, about whom you people say he is our God. Yet you do not know him, but I know him. If if I were to say that I do not know him, I would be a liar like you. But I do know him, and I obey his teaching. Your father Abraham was overjoyed to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. Okay, so this is a little bit deeper there, but let's just go back to the claims of who we are and where we are. We're continuing that. You can't be greater because he died. Jesus replied, if I glorify myself, my glory is worthless. So he's back to the Father is the one who glorifies me. So the testimony I can give about myself is true, but I do not glorify myself. The Father glorifies me. So the testimony he was arguing earlier, he can give testimony to himself, and the Father can give testimony to him. And the glory is all for the Father, not for himself. And you claim to be he is our God, yet you do not know him. But I know him. If I were to say that I do not know him. So you claim to know him. You clearly don't know him. But if I claim not to know him, I'd be a liar like you. I do know him. And I obey him and his teaching. In fact, let me just do one up on you. Your father Abraham was overjoyed to see my day, and he saw it and was glad. So Abraham saw Jesus' day. The meaning of the statement that the patriarch saw his day and rejoiced, the use of past tense would seem to refer to something that occurred during the patriarch's lifetime. Genesis Rabbah states that Rabbi Akiba, in a debate with Rabbi Johanan ben Zakkai, held that Abraham had been shown not the world only, but the world to come. This would include the days of the Messiah. More realistically, it is likely that Genesis 22:13-15 lies behind Jesus' word, the passage known to rabbis as the Akita, the binding, tells that Abraham finding the ram will replace his son Isaac on the altar of sacrifice, an occasion of certain rejoicing. Okay, so they're thinking that, oh, Abraham saw my day and rejoiced is just the binding of Isaac. That pales so, like, he saw the image because he saw the binding of Isaac and he saw the ram and did not. No, I don't think that's seeing Jesus' day. No, don't think so. I think there has to be more to it than this. Now, how does he see his day? There's a couple of ways to understand it. If you see the Old Testament, that Jesus shows up in the Old Testament and you have God is talking with him, and then the two angels go. The Lord there is talking to Abraham. That could be, is that Jesus who is there talking with Abraham? You could see it in that way. And then he saw his day. But to see his day, I think, is more of a reference to him being made Messiah, and it's past tense. But if God is outside of time, God could show him that when he shows. So the idea of him showing the world to come would make some sense in that regard. We could also have Jesus showing, or God revealing in the past. Like, the point isn't how. So even if we can try to sit here and struggle with how, it is he indeed did, and he was glad. So Abraham saw me, rejoiced in me. You are not doing those things. You're claiming to be the sons of your father, and your father did things, and you're not following in his footsteps. You're following in Satan's footsteps, who was a lie face from the beginning. Yes, reason, you were thinking the visitor, the angel. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The visitor with the angels. It calls him a man, and then it calls him the Lord, and then it calls the other two men, and then they become angels. So it's in that situation that could be in play here for sure. Yes. Then the Judeans replied, "You are not yet 50 years old. Have you seen Abraham?" Jesus said to them, "I tell you the solemn truth, before Abraham came to existence, I am." Then they picked up stones to throw at him because Jesus was hidden from them and went out from the temple area. So you're not even 50. Why would they pick 50? It's just an idiom. You're not even 50. Have you seen Abraham? The built-in answer is no. We know you haven't seen Abraham. But Jesus says, "I tell you the solemn truth, before Abraham came to existence, I am." Before Abraham was, I like that better, I am is an explicit claim to deity, although each occurs in the phrase I am in the fourth gospel, needs to be examined individually in context to see if an association with Exodus 3:14 is present. It seems clear that this is the case here, as a response to the Jewish authorities in the following verse shows. So, as I was pointing out, the other I am statements are there, that Jesus is making a claim that is in reference to an I am statement about God in the Old Testament, and also about the bread of life, the flowing water, all the light of the world. Those are all the statements that were said about Greek and Roman gods as well. So he simultaneously, John is weaving this claims to the Old Testament and claims that I fulfill all these claims. You only have this God only does this one. This God only does this one. This God only does this one. Jesus does them all. And now here, simply just a claim to be before Abraham came into existence, I am. This is explicitly, I agree, saying that his claim is a deity. Why do we see it as a claim to deity? He doesn't say I am God. He just says I am, because they pick up stones to throw him because Jesus was hidden, but Jesus was hidden from them. Why are they going to stone him? Because he claimed to be God. He is making a claim to God. He is blaspheming. Therefore, they are going to stone him. But he's hidden from them, and he went out from the temple area. So this seems like we're still in the occasion where he went up to the temple for the Feast of Booths. He has been teaching, and now they want to kill him. He's remained around. He's been doing some teaching, and finally, he is going to be forced to leave the temple area. John 9. Now, as Jesus was passing by, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Jesus' disciples asked him, "Rabbi, who committed the sin that caused him to be born blind, this man or his parents?" Okay, so this is a a debate that is ongoing apparently at the time of what is the cause of the blindness of a person. Yeah, one reason I am who I am. Yes, but yes, depending on how your Old Testament translates it, that's what we have. So, but Jesus is passing by this man, and the disciples are asking who sinned that he was born blind. The disciples assume sin, regardless of who committed it, was the cause of the man's blindness. This was a common belief in Judaism. The rabbis used Ezekiel 18:20 to prove there was no death without sin, and Psalm 89:33 to prove there is no punishment without guilt. Thus, in this case, the sin must have been on the part of the man's parents or during the prenatal existence. Stated that when a pregnant woman worshipped in a heathen temple, the unborn child also committed adultery. This is only one example of how, in rabbinic thought, an unborn child was capable of sinning. So, there is the thought that unborn can sin, and thus he was born blind because he sinned, or was it his mother or his father who were sinning, and thus he's born blind? So the logic is, and this is one of those things that we like. This is a great passage to dwell on, especially when someone wants to say anything to someone whose child is going to be born with anything that we would I'd label as a disease, condition, less than whole, defect, whatever language we want to use. This is a one to say, no, this is not the way that we view it. It's not a did your parents sin or did the child sin in order for this to happen. We live in a world with a curse upon it. We live in a sinful, fallen world. The consequences of that are that some people have and are born with less than full, optimal, sinless bodies. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway, I'm trying to not equate people with the problem. So, they're asking the question. Jesus answered, neither this man nor his parents sinned, but he was born blind so that the acts of God may be revealed through what happens to him. So think about anyone who has any condition, label, whatever, limitation that may be upon them so that the works of God may be revealed in their life. I think of just pick Helen Keller for a minute. Doesn't the acts of God revealed through her life, the amazing nature of her life in some ways reveal, God through what happens to her? And again, I think this is God may be revealed. Okay. It's not a foregone conclusion. But it is like through Joseph that something that was meant for evil can be turned to good. So here, a thing that is part of being under the curse of being in a world filled with sin can cause and bring glory to happen and point to God. So it's not the cause of it, but it is something that can happen and God can bring about. We must perform the deeds of the one who sent me as long as it is daytime. So he's shifting it. So we were talking about deeds, what deeds he is doing. We had light earlier. We're coming back to the image of light here in John. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I am in the world, I am the light of the world. Okay. Interesting phrasing here. Night is coming when no one can work. As long as I'm in the world, I am the light of the world. So when does Jesus stop being the light of the world? Is this at the death and burial of Jesus? Is he no longer the light of the world there? Is he regain light of the world when he is resurrected? When is the night coming when no one can work? Is that during the crucifixion? Is that I don't have the answers. I'm asking the questions here. Is that a time to come? Or is that a way of speaking of, if you're a cessationist, that night is coming and no one can work? See, the deeds he performed, the deeds that Jesus sent to do, they will cease because night is coming when no one can work. There's a lot of ways to parse this, okay? But the point more is that Jesus is the light of the world. That is the thing. As long as I'm here in the world, I am the light of the world. Having said this, he spat on the ground and he made some mud with saliva. He smeared the mud on the blind man's eyes and said to him, go wash in the pool of Siloam, which is translated sent. So the blind man went away and washed and came back seeing. So he spits on the ground and he makes mud. with the saliva. So what do we have here in the footnote? Or clay, the textual variant of the Syriac. Okay, could be clay instead of mud. But he's spitting, he's making something, he's smearing it on the eyes. So this is one of those occasions in where he is doing something, but he takes mud. So man is, or clay, made from the ground, the dust of the ground, the clay of the ground, whatever it is. It's an allusion to Genesis, where God formed out of the dust of the ground, and man became a living being. So he forms out of the dust of the ground and smears it on the blind man's eyes, in essence, creating new eyes for him to see. So he has now been giving new sight. So he's told to go and wash in the pool of, which translated means sent. And the blind man washes and he comes back seeing. So he goes and he does what he's commanded to do, and then he is able to see. Then the neighbors and the people who had seen him previously as a beggar began to say, "It's not the man who used to sit and beg." Some people said, "This is the man." Others said, "No, but he looks like him." The man himself kept insisting, "I am the one." So they asked him, "How then were you made to see?" So the neighbors, the people that know him, the people that have seen the beggar are like, "That looks like him, but he could see, and I know the beggar was blind. It can't be him." And others like, "Nah, it just looks like him." Finally, they ask him, like, "Isn't that just like people? Like, we're going to talk about you, we're going to debate about you, but why would we even ask you? Why would we talk to you? Like, that would be weird. We should just talk about you. Why talk to you when we can keep having a conversation about you that you can't refute?" So this is one of those different miracles where Jesus gives him stuff on his eyes and then a command to go do. Now we have Naaman the leper, who was told to go wash 7 times in the river, and so that's a little bit different here. But the command to go and do is a little bit different. So go wash in the pool of Siloam. He has mud on his eyes. We've got another one where he did a partial sight healing. This one is different, but again, we have the words, the spoken word, and we have the saliva. So from the mouth of Jesus and from the dust of the ground, we have new eyes, which are created for the man. And they're arguing about who he is. They finally go to him. "How is it you're able to see?" He replied, "The man called Jesus made mud, smeared it on my eyes, and told me to go to Siloam and wash. I went and I washed, and I was able to see." They said to him, "Where is that man?" He replied, "I don't know." So he does give them the explanation. He does come back seeing, but he doesn't know where Jesus went. Why? Because he went and washed his eyes, They brought the man who used to be blind to the Pharisees. Now the day on which Jesus made the mud and caused him to see was the Sabbath. I just totally feel at times like Jesus is intentionally doing this on the Sabbath. Like he over and over again is healing on the Sabbath. He is riling them up because, okay, so think about this. He is testing them. Are they going to rejoice in the miracle of God, or are they going to be crucial about the obedience to things? And so they continue to double down on the obedience to things, not about the actual thing that happens. So the Pharisees asked him again how he gained his sight. He replied, "He put mud on my eyes, and I washed, and now I'm able to see." So the story one more time. Then some of the Pharisees began to say, "This man is not from God, because he does not observe the Sabbath." But others say, "How can a man who was a sinner perform such a miraculous sign?" Like, yeah, sinners aren't doing this stuff, buddy. That makes no sense. But he's not from God because he doesn't observe the Sabbath. Okay. Thus there was division among them. So we have the argument of you're breaking one Sabbath law, you can't be from God, but nobody who's not from God can do these things. So paradox, paradox, paradox. So again, they asked the man who used to be blind, "What do you say about him since he caused you to see?" "He is a prophet," the man replied. Well, what else would you expect him to say? Like, this man healed you. Well, obviously he's a prophet. Who else can heal people? The only stories we have of people healing people are prophets. So he's a prophet. Now the Jewish religious leaders refused to believe that he had really been blind and had gained his sight until at last they summoned the parents of the man who had become able to see. Okay, so here we are seeing why we need 2 and 3 witnesses. They will not believe the witness of the man who was born blind, nor the crowd who says, yep, that's him. They have to bring the parents in. Is this your son who you say was born blind? Then how does he see? So they bring in the parents, get the parents, tell us about your son. So the parents replied, we know that this is our son and that he was born blind. Let's tell you what we know. We know it's our son. We know he's born blind. But we do not know how he is now able to see, nor do we know who caused him to see. So we don't have an answer. Maybe we haven't talked with him yet. Maybe he hasn't told us yet, but we do not know. But you know what's a bigger thing is he's an immature adult. Ask him. He will speak for himself. Like, why are you asking us? We'll verify he's our son. We'll verify he was born blind. How he can see, we don't know. We weren't there. Ask him. He's an adult. His parents said these things because they were afraid of the Jewish religious leaders. For the Jewish leaders had already agreed that anyone who confesses Jesus to be the Christ would be put out of the synagogue. For this reason, his parents said, he is a mature adult. Ask him. So even though it's true and logical, there's a little bit more behind it. Like they probably could have and probably heard the story of him saying that Jesus had healed him. They don't want to get caught up in all of that. Just ask him. They already know he's testified. We don't need to get thrown out of the temple too. You're going to throw him out. We know you're going to throw him out. We know how you act. We don't want to be thrown out as well along with him. I, however, being the type of parent that I am, I probs would get thrown out right along with my kid. Yep, I'd go right along with them and get kicked out. That would be what I would do on behalf of my kid. Then they summoned the man who used to be blind a second time and said to him, promise before God to tell the truth. We know that this man is a sinner. So we know he's a sinner. We need you to say this. We need that because we need that to be our answer. He replied, I do not know whether he is a sinner. I do know one thing, that although I was blind, now I can see. Like, I'm not going to say that. How would I know such a thing? What I know is I was blind and I can see. They said to him, what did he do to you? How did he cause you to see? He answered, I told you already, and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? You people don't want to become his disciples too, do you? I don't know the intent of that phrase there. If it's just plain curiosity, like, why do you keep asking me? Like, are you really, like, do you want to become his disciples? Or if it's sarcasm, like, I'm like, either way, it's just so beautiful. I told you and you didn't listen. Why do you want to hear it again? I already told you. I've told you 3 times now. Like, what do you want to hear? Do you people want to become his disciples too? Like, do you want to be a disciple of his too? Is that what you're looking for? You're going to go do that? Either he's saying it in pure curiosity or he's saying it in sarcasm. Still brilliant. They heaped insults on him, saying, you are his disciples. We are disciples of Moses. We know that God has spoken to Moses. We do not know where this man comes from. Again, we're back to the argument of where does he come from? The man replied, this is a remarkable thing that you don't know where he comes from, and yet he caused me to see. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but if anyone, if anyone is devout and does his will, God listens to him. So, this is remarkable. You guys don't know where he's from? That's amazing. You don't know that he can't be a sinner because he's doing these things. Sinners can't do these things. Only someone devoted to God can do these things, and God listens to him. Never before has anyone heard of someone causing a man born blind to see. This has never happened. How do you not understand? He's a prophet, and he's from God. Like, it's just pure obvious. You guys are religious leaders, and you can't get this through your thick skulls? If if this man were not from God, he could do nothing. Like, it's so obvious. He couldn't do it if he wasn't from God. They replied, you were born completely in sinfulness, and yet you presume to teach us. So they threw him out. So their presumption is it is his sin, why he was born blind. You're born completely in sinfulness, and thus you are a sinner. We can believe nothing you say, and you are going to be kicked out, buddy. Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, so he found the man and said to him, do you believe in the Son of Man? The man replied, who is he, sir, that I may believe in him. So he knows someone healed him. He doesn't know who it is. And now Jesus comes to him and says, do you want to believe? He's like, yeah, who is he? I want to believe. Jesus told him, you have seen him. He is the one speaking with you. So his eye. He said, Lord, I believe. And he worshiped him. Jesus said, for judgment I have come into the world, so that those who do not see may gain their sight, and those who see may become blind. So we're talking about judging earlier. I don't come to judge. No, his actions are the thing that are going to bring the judgment on it. So his healing on the Sabbath, his healing someone born blind, is causing people's hearts to be revealed, and they are choosing not to believe in the Son. They are choosing to show their true blindness. They do not want to see. And those who are blind to it, when the light of the world has come and is revealed, then it is seen. So he said, Lord, I believe, and he worshiped him. What do we have in the text here? Assuming the authenticity of John, the man's response to Jesus' statement is extremely significant. He worshiped him. In the Johannine context, the word would connotate its full sense. This was something due to God alone. Note also that Jesus did not prevent the man from doing it. Yeah, so that's a point. So here it is the climax of the story that he is worshiping God, he's worshiping Jesus. And to worship Jesus, he says, I believe, and then he worships. So Jesus not telling him to stop. Angels, when it is not worship or angels are worship, they say, do not worship. Worship is not given me. The apostles say, do not worship me. It's not given to me. Jesus, when worship happens to him, he does not stop people. So therefore, he is accepting the worship. Therefore, he is equating to be God. We do not have to have the words Jesus say, everybody, let me tell you something. I am God. He has references he makes all over the place, claims that he makes all over the place, and these things happen. These are the claims that everyone reading this in context in the first century when it's written is going to know, believe, and understand. Some of the Pharisees who were with him heard this and asked him, we are not blind too, are we? Jesus replied, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But now, because you claim that you can see, your guilt remains. So some Pharisees are there. They hear what's going on, and they're asking, like, we're not blind too, are we? Like, we're not in that group. He's like, if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. So if you were blind, it would mean that you were hidden. It was hidden from you to know that what you were doing is sin. However, you are claiming that you know right and wrong. Therefore, you are guilty. Okay? You claim you can see. Your guilt remains. So those who do not see may gain sight, and those who see may become blind. So you are blind guides. You are leading the wrong way. You are guilty of your sin because you refuse to believe in the anointed one of God who has come, who's among you. You're the ones who should have known, who should have seen, who knows all the things, and you won't believe it. So you're blinded to it, and you're stuck in your sin. So that's you guys. You got it right. That's you. Indeed, you are indeed stuck in your sin.